Yeah. This is the Paltover Nigan from the Paltover Rebbe. It was a chassid by the Alter Rebbe or maybe by the Tzemach Tzedek. And the story is that the last Shabbos of his life, at third meal, he called in 3 friends and he said he's leaving the world tonight and he has to leave his Nigan behind. Apparently he never shared it until then. So Paltover, yeah. So it's like the Nigan of a journey, you know, upward. And here's a nigan from Michal's childhood. Mitzrayim geyaltonu mibeis avadim v'disanu ממצרים גאלתנו בצוותים פדיסנו ממצרים גאלתנו מבית עבדים 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 פדיסנו ממצרים. Okay, we begin. So, your family name, is it really originally Shalem, no?
Yeah, Roy's family is
Shalem, not Salem.
We're from Iraq, so Shalem or Salam, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's
like
that's the root.
It's the Hebrews, Shalem.
Shalem, yeah.
Okay, so please open up to chapter 1. First of all, we start at the very beginning. Ve'ele Shmot b'nei Yisrael, these are the names of the children of Israel, Habaim Mitzrayma, who came to Egypt, ate Yaakov, together with Yaakov, Ish u'veito ba'u, each person came with his family, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zebulun, Benyamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Vayhi kol nefesh yerech yotzei yerech Yaakov, and the number of all the progeny of Yaakov Avinu was Shivim nefesh, was 70 souls. Yosef hayab Mitzrayim, and Yosef was in Egypt. So there's a very beautiful teaching here from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he says like this. The Torah is listing us the names of all the children of Yaakov who came to Egypt. So why does the Torah then, why doesn't the Torah just say they were 70? Why list the names? And if you're already listing the names, why do you have to tell me that it's 70? If you can go back a couple of weeks ago in the Parsha, where the Torah lists everybody's name, they have a full listing over there. And the Torah says the number is 66, plus Yosef and his 2 sons makes 69. And Yocheved was born just as they were entering the gates of the walls of Egypt. That makes 70. The Rebbe says, what's the difference between a number and a name? When you say that there were 70 people, that basically means whether you're the top in this group or whether you're the smallest in the group, if you have the greatest stature in the group, or if you have the smallest stature in the group, you're a number, just like you're an individual unit, just like everybody else is. In other words, you're one of the 70, you're one of the 70, I am one of the 70. In other words, in that respect, everybody is equal. A name, on the other hand, is about your own personal, unique being, right? So when it comes to your own unique personal being, every person is special, okay? And we're not carbon copies of one another. We're not just equal to each other. Each one of us is special, as indicated by the fact that, like people think, oh, it's just a name. My parents gave it to me. But, as you go through life, you begin to realize that your name really is the name of your neshama, So the lesson is that in any community that you're building, whether it's your family or whether it's a community, the lesson is that you have to have a cohesiveness in the group where everybody in the groups feels like an equal part to everybody else, right? That's the idea of the number, right? When you're counting a group of, when you're counting a million of 10 people, it doesn't matter if one is a pauper and one is a millionaire. Each one of them is one of the 10, right? And secondly, each one has to know that their individual special self is present in the group, that the group is not trying to homogenize everybody and make everybody just like copies of each other. Right? Why did communism fail? One of the main reasons is because communism didn't recognize the importance of the individual. They didn't care if you're a doctor or an engineer. You have to go out and plant the field, or you have to go out and harvest the potatoes. And they did this regularly. They would take people with great talents and they would make them do the same menial jobs like everybody else. And people need to have a challenge in their life. You need to be able to be challenged and manifest your essence, self. And on the other hand, so you also need to have a society in which you feel that you can achieve something. And if it happens to be more than somebody else, then fine, right? But if you're going to be, let's say, the head of the factory, and you have 200 employees under you, and the head of the factory, they're making me tired, and the head of the factory is not going to get any better benefits or any better salary than any of the employees, then nobody's going to be motivated to work harder, because anyway, I'm not going to get rewarded for working harder, right? So in building a community, you have to have both aspects. You have to have the aspect of the equality between all the members of the community. You have to have the aspect where every member of the community feels challenged to perfect themselves in the highest way, right? So now go to verse 19 in this parsha, in this chapter. Actually, I made a mistake. It's verse 15. Tesma. Wow, I'm being hit with tiredness.
What the minor?
Huh? But Vayomer, Pasuk Tesvav. Not your test. I made a mistake. Okay?
That's what?
Yeah, 15. You have it?
Yeah.
You have it? You want to read it?
Sure. Vayomer, right?
Mm-hmm.
ויאמר מלך מצרים למילדות העבריות אשר שם האחת שפרה ושם השני פועה. ויאמר בילדכן את העבריות וייתן על האבניים אם בן הוא וחמיתן אותו, ואם בת היא בחיה.
Good. It's fine. So, Vayomer Melech Mitzrayim, verse 15, Lemiyaldot HaIvriyot, the king of Egypt said to the Jewish midwives, Asher Shem Ha'achat Shifra, one of them's name was Shifra, V'Shem HaShenit, and the other one was Pua. So Rashi tells us a very interesting thing. Who was Shifra? Rashi says, Zo Yochebed. Shifra was Yochebed. And who was Pua? I'm sorry, why was Yochebed called Shifra? She mishaperet et blood. She would make the child look beautiful, right? A baby comes out and is born. It's all messy, right? And has to be bathed and washed up and cleaned. So Shifra used to make the children beautiful. And Pua, so Miriam, Pua was her daughter Miriam. Al Shem Shipoa Medaberet Vahoga Layeled, because Lavlad, because she would make sounds like, and she would speak and she would okay, so she used to sing to the child and everything, right? So like poo, 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 right? Okay. I think I better get myself a drink because I'm cranking out. I shouldn't say a word. Judy just came home from the birth. She left yesterday more than 24 hours ago.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So now I saw on a Breslover Sefer a number of years ago a beautiful teaching on this. Now you know the name Shifra is, the word Shifra is related with the word shofar and shapir and means good, and shfar, which means beauty. So Shifra means beauty. And just like shofar is shapru ma'asechem, improve your deeds, right? So in other words, it's all related to the idea of making something beautiful. So Shifra would make the child beautiful, and Miriam would sing to the child. So you know that there's midwifery, right? And there's the simple midwifery is someone who helps another woman give birth, right? And then there's also the concept of spiritual midwifery. What does it mean, spiritual midwifery? It means that a person is stuck and they're not growing. So a spiritual midwife is one who helps them get beyond their current status, their current situation, so that they can actually grow, right? So anytime that you help a friend, let's say you have a friend that says, Michal, I'm having a really hard time with Lashon Hara. And you help that person, overcome that, okay? So what you've done is you've birthed the person to their next level. You've given them the ability to rise to their next level. And how do you do that? How did Shifra do it? Think for a minute. I'm going to get some guys. Okay. This sleep apnea sometimes hits me.
Sure. Yeah.
Are you in town for Shabbos?
Yep. Are you?
Judy might be at a birth again. She has another 2 women.
No. I won't be in
Do you want to add some hot water to it? Go in the kitchen and add some hot
No,
water.
it's okay. I don't mind. Thank you, though.
Okay, sorry for the interruption.
It's okay.
Okay, you might call me?
Even before Rosh Hashanah.
His brother was my principal in high school.
No.
I spoke to him, he gave me a lift. And I spoke to him about that,
About the graduation.
what you said. He doesn't remember it, but he did say it's more important to you than it was to him. He doesn't,
I like that one.
he doesn't remember anything.
I was going to stay for another year in yeshiva. And he said, no, you graduated. But that's the way it was supposed to be. It's okay. I don't mind if he doesn't remember.
That is so funny. That is so funny. Was that here?
Toronto.
No, in Canada.
It's amazing.
In my school, we had graduation every month.
Yeah. Okay. So, Baruch Hashem. So the thing is like this. How do you help somebody get to the next stage? Very much related to what we learned a couple of days ago about Aaron HaKohen. What did Aaron HaKohen do?
He didn't make any changes in the Adlaka thing.
Yeah, but what did he do when he was talking to a person? What was he doing?
Treated him as an equal. Didn't it say that?
How was he doing it? What was he focusing on?
Like the good points.
He was focusing on the good in the person. He was telling the person, you don't have to change, you just have to take off the dirty garments.
Right.
Someone's at the door. Oh, okay. For Judy? For us?
Judy got it.
I'm saying the person's here for us?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay.
I can tell.
Oh, Reb David. You take a chumash. We're learning about Shifra and Pua.
Right.
You don't need a chumash, but we're learning that very much related to the teaching that we learned this week from the Reb Sholom about Aaron and Kohen, right?
Yeah.
How did he help somebody? Mr. Sinnerman came to him. So Aaron and Kohen didn't say to him, oh, look at yourself, you're so filthy, you're so disgusting, right? What did he do? He put him back in touch with his inner essence and how special he really is.
Right.
And that gave him the encouragement to be better.
Right.
And so that's what Shifra was doing. Shifra was the midwife and
Yocheved.
Shifra and Yocheved and Miriam.
Yeah.
So Shifra, why was she called Shifra? Rashi explains, why was she called Shifra? Because she made the baby beautiful.
Yeah.
Yocheved, Miriam was called Pua because she sang to the kid.
Yeah.
Understand? And that's what Nachman's whole Torah of Zambra. The Nekudas Tovos, the Nekudot Tovot, the good
Right.
points,
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
And the Nekudot Tovot, and what else? And the singing, right? So we have to understand that every time that you feel stuck and you're trying to move forward, the technique, the strategy is to look at yourself and see the good points and say, you know, there's something beautiful about me. I'm not totally disgusting. I have something good about me. And then sing a song and go. And the same thing with a friend. You see a friend is stuck. You have a friend that can't control his anger. Don't give him a lecture on anger. Focus on the good point in them. Okay?
Good.
Whatever it might be. Okay? And as you know, the whole thing of birthing is really all about Yetziat Mitzrayim. The story of the Exodus is the story of the birthing of the Jewish people. We're already a people in Egypt, but we're already called Am Yisrael in Egypt. But we were still in a fetal type of situation in the sense that we were being born right there in the Golas. We became a nation right there in the Golas. And then we had to be liberated. And you know what you call labor pains in Hebrew? Tzirei Leida. Tzirei.
Wow.
What word does that relate to? Mitzrayim.
Yeah, close. Yeah.
Right? And when we came out of Egypt, there was a splitting of the waters.
Mm-hmm.
When a baby is born, the waters break.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the baby comes into the world through the narrows.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? So the whole story is mamish,
Beautiful.
a story of birthing.
Mm-hmm.
Verstehst?
One of the few Yiddish words I know.
Verstehst?
For
Good.
that in the
Yeah.
house.
Okay, so now I want you to have a look at the naming of Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, so who names him? We're now in chapter 2, and it is verse verse 10. Here.
Yeah.
Pasuk Yud. David, read it, please. Vayigdal hayeled Yud.
ויגדל הילד בת ביאהו לבת פרעה, ויהי לה לבן.
Chapter 2, verse 10.
ותקרא שמו משה, ותאמר, כי מן המים משיתהו. Good?
Okay, very good. You found it, Marissa?
Yeah.
What's your Hebrew name?
Ayelet Shachar.
Wow. Where'd you get it?
This guy in Makolet actually said it, and I was like, "That's it."
So you made him a Sheberach?
Yeah, I did it on a shovel. I thought about it for a year or so.
Beautiful. Morning star.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, so the child grew up, Moshe Rabbeinu grew up, and his mother brought him back to the daughter of Paro, and he became like her son. She adopted him. But Tikra Shmo Moshe, and she called him Moshe. Why did she call him Moshe? Ki min hamayim meshitihu, because I drew him out of the water.
Didn't members of her family ask who was this child, whether this child, or was he?
Presumably they did, but she's Paro's daughter. She got away with it, or she didn't tell them everything exactly. I don't know. It's you can speculate there. Okay.
Yocheved was coming to the palace to nurse Moshe Rabbeinu.
No, she nursed him at home, but she took him home. Yeah, but in any case, whichever it is, I don't know. Like you can watch the movie and get one opinion. You can, there's midrashim, there's all kinds of midrashim on this and so on. But let's go to what I want to get to. So there's a commentator on the Torah called Sforno. Have you heard of it? It's in the It's in the Mikraot Gedolot Chumash. The Sforno was a rabbi and a doctor in Italy about 400 years ago. So he says, grammatically, right? She names him Moshe Kimin Amayim Meshitihu. Now, there's Meshitihu is a verb, right? I drew him out of the water. Now, grammatically, who was drawn out of the water here? Moshe Rabbeinu, right? So grammatically, she should have called him Musha, because it was passive. he was drawn out of the water, right? Whereas the construction of Moshe is active. Moshe means he's doing it for somebody else, right?
And
So
what is the passive?
Musha, like for example, you have later on in a few verses further on, it says v'hasneh eineno ukal. The sneh was not being consumed in the fire. Passive. Okay. Ochel ukal. Okay. So you would add. I mean, it's not a kasha, but you would imagine that his name should be Musha, not Moshe. So the Sforno says that the Medrash tells us that Bat Paro, why was she going down to bathe in the river then? That she was going down to convert. That day she was becoming Jewish, and she went to do a conversion. And, her Hebrew name, the rabbis tell us, is what? Batya, daughter of God. Okay? And furthermore, when she dipped in the water, and then she opened her eyes and she sees the baby, right? She sees the box, she opens it up and she sees Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, Sforno says, presumably a lot of Jewish mummies were trying to save their children in whatever way they could, including trying to float them in a little boat on the river, so to speak, right? So she thought, so what is it about this child? Why did I have the merit to save this child in particular? Why is it this child that I took out of the water? And she realized, she had a prophetic vision, that this must be the one who's going to save the Jews. It must be that he's going to be the savior. And therefore she called him Moshe, the one who's saving others out of the water, rather than Moshe as the one who was saved. Now, I first heard this teaching years ago from a very dear chassid, Reb Yankel Yurkovich, Reb Sholom. He was a Holocaust survivor, and he said that when he learned this teaching, he realized that if Hashem saved his life in the Holocaust, it must be because he has to devote his life to saving others. Judy is she's driven to do all the work that she does because she was born right in the Holocaust also. And she feels that Hashem saved her life. And she asked her mother, like, what time of day was she born? And her mother said she doesn't know, because all she was doing was, there was a Nazi doctor attending to her during the birth, and she was just praying, please don't kill my child. Anyway, so Judy feels like mamish, like Hashem gave her life so that she should be able to do all these things, And now, so we have to know that whenever we go through something difficult, it's like Hashem is letting us know, you went through this because you had something to learn. Now apply what you learned and help somebody else. Okay? So did you know David Zeller or Reb Sholom?
I'm
a little bit. You met him.
Really don't, yeah.
David Zeller was a very special man, passed away about 6 or 7 years ago at the age of 60. There are beautiful meditational tapes of his.
Beautiful singer.
And he was a very close disciple of Reb Sholom. And he didn't start his life in a religious home. He started his life, his father and mother, they didn't really know much about Yiddishkeit. And his father was a Jungian psychologist. And David, so in other words, Jungian psychology recognizes spirituality and so on. And David, was like 17, 18 or whatever it was, and he went up to India. And he joined up with a guru whose thing was that you're not allowed to stay under a roof longer than it takes for a man to to go and milk the goat and give you a cup of milk. So like an entire year, he was living with his guru outdoors. When it was pouring, they would go under an awning or something like that. But and after a year, the guru turns to him and says, "I've taught you what I got to teach you. Now go home and be a Jew." So David was like, like what? Now Reb Shlomo used to say that among the gurus, the holy ones would take Jewish kids and then they would teach them, and then at some point they would tell them, "Now go and be a Jew." The unholy ones would sink their claws into the Jewish kids and never let them go. So David Zeller comes back to the States. He doesn't know anything about Yiddishkeit. His father's having a party. All these psychologists are there, and he's talking to one of the ladies. Okay. I'll wait for you. He's talking to one of the guests, and she says to him, and David already has started getting involved in transpersonal psychology, founded this institute, and he was already giving lectures, traveling around. And she says to him, "By any chance, do you ever go down to New Mexico?" So he says, "No, not yet. Why?" She says, "There's this Shinto priest over there. He's very special. And if you go to New Mexico, you should meet him." He says, "Why?" So she tells him that she was diagnosed with cancer, Leoleno, and the doctor told her she had like just about 3 months left to live. Anyway, she was working with children. And in Jungian psychology, they have a certain therapy that they call the sandbox therapy. They give kids like these boxes with sand, and they let them sort of draw patterns in it as they wish. And she says that she noticed that very often children, or that the things that the kids would sort of draw in the sand looked very much like certain Shinto symbols. And she wanted to research this, so she found out about this Shinto priest down in New Mexico, and she went down to interview him. So when she came down there, she's telling him about her work, and she wants to find out. And he says, "Why are you doing this?" And she says, "Well, this is my research. I want to do it." So he says, "But you're very sick. Why are you doing this?" She says she knows. She hadn't told him that she was sick. She says she knows, but the doctor told her that she only has a certain amount of time left, and she wants to use it productively instead of sitting at home and kvetching. So the priest said to her, "Do you want to live?" And she says, "Yeah, of course." He says, No, I want to know for real. Like, do you really want to live?" And she says, "Yes." So he said, "Then allow me to heal you." And he healed her. So a couple of months later, David Reb Sholom was down in New Mexico, and he calls up this Shinto priest. He says, "Hi, can I come and say hi to you and visit you?" So he says, Yeah, come. So David goes down to his house, and David said he thought that he was going to be there for 10, 15 minutes, have a cup of tea, "Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you," and goodbye, right? He says he crawled out of there 3, 4 hours later. What happened? So they're having a little conversation, and all of a sudden the priest says to him, he says, "You Jews better do something about making the world more spiritually conscious." So David says, "What do you mean, we Jews? I just spent a year in India, and I was studying all this spiritual tradition, and they have beautiful teachings about being spiritually conscious." She says, yeah, but the Jews are responsible. She says, "Well, I also studied Native American spiritual practices and so on. Yeah, but the Jews are responsible.
Wow.
So he says, Ma pitom, like, where are you coming from? So he tells them that they have a tradition, and they have a story in their tradition. That a long time ago, God sent a number of spiritual souls down to the world, very spiritual beings down to the world, people. And God at some point, had a conference with all these people at some point, and he said, I'm very pleased with what everybody's doing, but I need somebody who can teach people how to be involved in the physical world and elevate it to a spiritual level.
That's us.
So he says at that point, the way I remember David telling the story is, this one dropped his pen, that one had to go to the bathroom, and this one was coughing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there was only one fellow left in the room, and his name was Moshe. Now, in Shintoism, they have 6 levels of ordination. Each one is called something mush, mash, whatever, but with a different vowel at the end of it. Uh-huh. And the highest level they call Moshe. Moshe, however they pronounce it. Okay. So David says that's when it dawned on him that what he was hearing was opening the gate for him to understand why Yiddishkeit has so many practical mitzvahs, and that it's not just about spirituality. And that's when he started becoming more inclined towards becoming a Shomer Torah mitzvahs. This was, I think, might have been before he met Shlomo. And then when he met Shlomo, he says he actually went into the phone booth, called up his parents, and he was crying. He could hardly talk. Yeah. And they said, "What's going on?" He says, "I met my rabbi." Michal, you want to get the door, please? You have koyach? So he says, had any rabbi told him that you have to do practical mitzvahs, he wouldn't have bought it. He had to hear it from this guy.
Right.
He had to hear it from him.
So I met Shlomo. I didn't meet Shlomo.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, I was really hungry to get into it, to be practicing.
Yeah.
And my friend the yogi said you should check out Shlomo. What's a Shlomo? And
we're just ending the class now, but I know. You can sit down. Huh?
I have to meet Michael.
Who's Michael?
Isn't Michael? What's your name?
There's Michael.
Oh, you're
Michael Rubin.
Yeah, you're right.
His name is, can you read English? Michael.
I was told Michael. Okay, whatever. So Shlomo went to this friend's ashram had a retreat.
Yeah.
Shlomo goes there because Shlomo says 85% of the kids in the retreat in the ashrams are Yidden. Yeah. And he tells Yasalo the Holy Ma'isa.
Oh yeah.
And they made a transcript of it, and they put it in the newsletter, and they gave me a copy of the newsletter, and my mom must have knocked me out. Next week,
that story is amazing.
And then Baruch Hashem was blast off.
What's the story of Yasalo the Holy Miser?
You don't know Yasalo the Holy Miser?
Yeah, you can hear Shlomo telling it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beyond. There's 2 parts. I just heard the first part.
Yeah, he tells both. Yeah.
Yeah. What year did that take place?